Beautiful. Okay, I would like to go ahead and get this board meeting called to order at 9:32 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We will start with the call to order. Daniela, can you please do the roll call?
Yeah. Okay. So Ashanti, I know you're here and I'm here. Emily Block,
Here.
Adam Sennett,
Here.
Kevin Smith,
Here.
Chris Vaquero,
Here.
Wesley Wright,
Here.
Carolyn Burt,
Here.
Reginald Hardwick.
Not here. He is traveling at this moment, so he may jump in a little bit later.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Daniela. Let's now move on to the approval of the minutes for our April 6th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve those minutes.
Can I get a second? Okay, Emily seconds. Any discussion, any edits, changes?
Oh, I think it's very minor. My last name is spelled wrong, only because it's my last name. I actually bring this up, but it's also wrong on today's agenda. Again,
Oh,
very
Lord.
minor. Very minor.
2 C's, 1 R.
2 C's, 1 R, yes.
Okay, if we can update that in the minutes. So pending that update, can I get a motion to approve? I mean, can I get a vote to approve the minutes from the April 6th meeting? All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Board meeting minutes from April 6th are approved. Okay, we will move to my president's report. Usually I have a short president's report. This one's going to be a little longer because we have actually been quite busy over the last couple of months since we had our meeting in April, and I wanted to update all of you on some of the wonderful things that we've been doing. And I really want to start first by saying welcome to Caroline Hendry, who is joining us for the first time as our SPJ Executive Director at a board meeting. She started on May 1st, I believe, and she has been doing a wonderful job. And to be honest with you, she jumped in even before the first day of her employment with SPJ. And I think what we have found is that she has settled in quite well. She is, obviously still learning some of the ropes, but when I tell you it has been a really wonderful experience working with her ever since that she has started. And I think that she was really the right person for this job. I want to also thank the headquarters staff for supporting her and helping her as she gets settled in. And I also want to thank my board for giving her the time and the space that she needs to kind of get settled in, get right in, and get up to speed. So, Caroline, thank you so much. We appreciate that you're here. And we're happy to see, what you're going to be able to do next.
Thank you.
Second, absolutely. Second, I wanted to share with all of you some of the advocacy work that SPJ has been doing since the end of April, because it's been a lot. As you know, we had protests across campuses all across the country. And a lot of journalists were kind of caught up in the law enforcement sweeps as they were happening. And we saw those incidents happen, and we jumped in immediately to advocate for those journalists. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a rundown of what we've done. So we pulled together a coalition of about 40 plus journalism organizations and First Amendment advocacy groups to condemn the arrest of Carlos Sanchez, Fox 7 Austin photographer arrested while covering protests at the University of Texas in Austin. Videos showed that the photographer was thrown to the ground just after a crowd surged and knocked him off balance into a sheriff deputy. Within 24 hours of his misdemeanor charge being thrown out and then replaced by a felony charge, we reached out to those organizations and got together to sign a joint statement that Caroline so graciously drafted even before her first day on the job. I had personal conversations with State Senators Joaquin Castro, Roland Gutierrez, and staff for State Senator Sarah Eckert, all of whom amplified the coalition statement condemning the actions of Texas DPS and demanding that the charges against Sanchez be dropped. Sanchez is still facing felony charges at this time, but negotiations are ongoing to potentially get that case dropped. And we'll keep you updated as we learn more about his case. Only a few days after that, a freelance journalist was arrested while covering protests at UCLA and charged with a misdemeanor. And within an hour of that arrest, we issued a statement demanding his release and that all charges be dropped. I personally pulled together a coalition of Southern California and California journalism organizations, media unions, and First Amendment advocacy groups that were all standing at the ready to sign a joint statement. Fortunately, that was not needed, as the journalist was released that same day and all charges were dropped. In addition to that, SPJ signed on to a joint statement led by the College Media Association, affirming the importance of journalists working for campus media during the protests who found themselves on the front lines of this story, and reminding higher education officials and law enforcement that these journalists have the same protections under the First Amendment as professional journalists. SPJ has also been very active in pushing for the U.S. Senate to pass the Press Act, which would be the first federal shield law to protect journalists in the country. We have joined a coalition of journalism organizations and First Amendment advocacy groups in this fight. It's already passed the U.S. House, and we are hoping that it will go for a committee vote soon, and hopefully for a floor vote soon after that. In addition, SPJ also issued a statement in support of a Nepali newspaper publisher arrested at the request of the country's home minister after a series of investigative pieces the paper wrote about him. We urge the Nepali government to reaffirm its commitment to a free and unfettered press. Also, when sports journalist Pat McAfee referred to a WNBA player using a derogatory term, I personally spoke out condemning his words and using the incident to remind folks of the SPJ Code of Ethics and that this guidance for ethical journalism applies to all journalists, no matter the subject matter they cover. So we have been very, very, very busy for the last couple of weeks and for the last 2 months. I just want to also send a special thank you to Caroline, to Kim and Nadia from our comms team for being so willing to activate as soon as I reached out to them and stress the importance of SPJ speaking out and advocating on these issues and incidents. Our voice matters. It continues to matter. And when we speak up, people do listen. And so I want us to make sure that we continue to use our voice, that we continue to stand up for what is right. We continue to advocate for the First Amendment, because that is why we are here. I want to move on also to giving a plug for our upcoming SPJ elections. I urge folks to really consider running for a board position and or a regional coordinator position in this year's SPJ elections. The deadline to declare is August 10th, and you can do so by going to SPJ Election Central on our website. Also, the positions up for election this year: Vice President, Secretary Treasurer, 2 at-large directors, a regional coordinator position, regional coordinator positions for regions 1, 4, 5, and 9. Also, there will be some virtual events soon sharing information about how to run and what each position entails. So please keep an eye out for more information about those. And also keep an eye out for the exact date of the election, which will happen in September. As you all know, we will not have a convention, and so that will take place completely digitally. And so please keep an eye out for information about those dates, and we will make sure that that information is pushed out as soon as we have it. Okay, so that is my president's report. Right now, I would like to move on to the executive director's report. Caroline, you have the floor.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the kind words. It's been a real pleasure to work with you on these advocacy efforts. It's really been energizing, and as you and I have talked about multiple times, this is our why. We're fighters for the First Amendment. We're champions for journalists. It's just wonderful to be doing that work and seeing some results. So I'm delighted about that. I'll add on that we are hoping to produce a video explainer about the Press Act as part of this coalition effort to try to urge the Senate to act in the wake of the House and follow their lead and pass this bipartisan legislation that is so long overdue to provide a federal shield law. Just letting a few people in. So yeah, and adding on to advocacy, another sort of strand of work that we've been doing is around a long-standing issue for SPJ, and that is sometimes we call it gag rules on public employees talking to journalists. We have a long history, right, of advocating against these sort of restrictions. Sometimes we've called it censorship by PIO. And we have a microsite on gagging, the we called it Gagged America. So this has been an issue. Sorry, this has been an issue that we've advocated for a long time. We recently issued a call to action in the wake of a unprecedented legal settlement in the case that is believed to be the first time a journalist has brought a First Amendment challenge in federal court to these sorts of restrictions that are part of public agencies' media policies. You probably heard about it. It's the Brittany Haler case. It came in the Western District of Pennsylvania. An investigative journalist in Pittsburgh had challenged the policy of the Allegheny County Jail, where numerous incarcerated individuals had died, and there were these policies that people who worked there who had information about the conditions were muzzled from talking to the press. And she challenged this and won a legal settlement. So in the wake, it was believed to be the first time. So it just underscores that journalists can and should challenge these sorts of policies that so often are just taken for granted, that this is part of the landscape that you have to deal with. Well, no, as SPJ has been stating for years now, when these are challenged in court, they don't stand up. So we are advocating for that. We put out a call to action, and I'm pleased to say that I recently did an interview with a journalist from Voice for America. Hopefully or Voice of America, excuse me. She is hopefully going to do a story on this. She's trying to do more reporting with Brittany Haler. Also, I'm pleased to say that we are seeking external funding for a project on this issue to help strengthen journalists' ability to challenge these sort of gag rules. So that's another aspect of the kind of advocacy that we've been doing. I'm also pleased to say that we're addressing some issues, that longstanding issues with our membership platform. There's a lot of hard work going on at the staff level with the vendor. These take a while. There's some large issues to deal with, and they are being tackled this summer. We're systematically working through them with the vendor. And so we're hoping that they will get resolved over this summer and that we'll be in a better place in the fall. We'll be really able to test whether the promised improvements have been made. So that's coming down the pike, and it is an area of, I know, great concern for everyone in the community. Another important area is awards, of course. So I do want you to know that we are hard at work preparing the announcement of the winners of the SDX Awards. We're announcing them online, and we're working on an announcement video and a plan for announcing those later this month. The Mark of Excellence Awards that our student journalists, they have already gotten their plaques to the winners. The MOE, which is the kind of best in class, that has been selected, and we are going to be announcing that along with the winners of the SDX Awards. The New America Awards, the choices have been made by the judges, and they will be coming out later in the summer, the announcements of the winners of the New America Awards. Of course, today the board is going to be considering some board selected awards, and so we're looking forward to that. Another area, I'll just say, Quill is the summer issue is now on its way, so it's out the door, and it's a cover story written by the SPJ's own Director of Ethics and Diversity, Rod Hicks. So watch for that. And, Lou, who is the editor of Quill, was really delighted to work with Rod and thought he did a fantastic job. So that's coming very soon. And then I'll just say, for my work with the board, I'm really looking forward to working with you all. We are looking to kind of move forward with some goals, setting strategic priorities for our programming going forward. And I'm looking forward to working with you on those goals, on those programming goals, and other goals for the organization.
Caroline, thank you so much. Any questions from the board about anything Caroline may have shared during her report?
Ashanti?
Kevin? Yes, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have some brief remarks with regards to Quill Magazine. We had an issue that was published recently that went into detail about the Shield Law, and I was really disappointed to see that we contracted with a freelancer to do a story about the Shield Law before Congress. And at no point in that story was there anything mentioned about the advocacy and the work that SPJ had done over a course of about 5 or 6 years back in the middle of this decade. And it was really disappointing because we have spent a lot of time and a lot of resources, both in terms of traveling there and having conversations. There are several presidents who visited Capitol Hill and had conversations and helped promote a Shield Law. And it was like our own publication didn't even recognize the fact of our history and our contributions to that. And to say I was disappointed. So I would just simply say that we need to be a little more mindful of what SPJ's history is about before we start letting freelancers to do a story without even looking into, obviously what we've done and what we've contributed. I think that story would have been much more helpful and beneficial to the members of the organization had we talked up what SPJ had done. So.
Thanks so much, Kevin. I appreciate that. I think that's a totally fair piece of criticism for that. I agree. I think we have to do a better job of telling our own story and tooting our own horn and making sure that people understand the value that we bring. And that was likely a good opportunity to do so. So I think we can kind of look at that and create some best practices around that so that we can ensure, especially if it's coming from us, that we are giving credit to us as appropriate. Exactly. Thank you so much, Kevin. Anyone else want to make any comments or questions to Caroline about her executive director's report before I move on? Okay. All right. Let's move on then to the treasurer's report. Daniela.
Yes. Hi. Thank you guys for coming to this meeting on this Saturday morning. So we ended the first 4 years of the first 4 months, of 2024 with $357,000 in cash on hand. The accountant noted that the big driver was the reimbursement from the foundation for this. Just to give you some context, that amount is just under 5 months worth of operating expenses, and we're targeted to have around 3, so that's over that, which is good. Like we mentioned at the previous board meeting, we lost the Google funding, which has impacted our end of year projection. The focus moving forward is, of course, being more efficient, increasing revenue, and keeping a close eye on our expenses. And so just focusing on revenue briefly, we're working to find new avenues and increasing our sources of income. And once I'm done, Caroline, I don't know if you want to talk about what Lucas has been doing, but just some updates. The audit for the fiscal year 2023 is in progress, and all chapters who are owed chapter dues have been contacted, and the chapters with dues that are remaining to be paid, they're being followed up with. And so this month, the membership fees are going to be analyzed so that way we get a better idea of the revenue that we get from that. And also it will help us get benchmarks for what we should be meeting every month moving forward. Trying to see what else I have in my notes. That's pretty much the Cliff Notes version of the last meeting that we had. I want to thank everyone that is on the finance committee because we meet every week for about an hour. We all look at the budget and we ask a lot of questions. And so I really appreciate them for doing that. And we're set to meet later this month to talk about last month's finances. So Ashanti, is there anything I'm missing?
No, I think you meant we meet once a month, not every week. That would be a heavy lift.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Daniela. Caroline, was there anything that you wanted to add?
No, but I appreciate your hard work. There's a lot of work going on our finances, and I'm delighted to be working with who I'm working with on it. So there's going to be more to come on that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now we get to move to a very exciting agenda item, I think, which is a brand new SPJ chapter under consideration in the Northern Mariana Islands. And so I'm going to turn it over to Caroline so that she can present the information, and then we can consider allowing this new chapter with SPJ. Caroline.
Right. Well, I know you had this information in the packet, and the people who are following the board meeting can see that. And I encourage you to look at this material. It's very exciting. I'll just read a little bit about their chapter development and what they're trying to focus on to give you a sense of it. Their hope is to create a community of journalists in the Northern Mariana Islands. And they're a small island community. There are only about a dozen professional journalists in the area. They have a good list of members from these different news outlets there, in different media. And as a small island community, they share similar struggles and concerns as journalists, and the local chapter hopes to pursue 3 areas of interest: advocating, educating, and organizing. They note that there are growing challenges in reporting on the islands and accessing public information. They're facing challenges in interviewing elected officials who avoid speaking to the media. They also they're working, they want to work together to engage meaningfully with different entities to expand access to the press and to the wider public. On the education front, they want to host workshops, talks, conferences for the benefit of members and the public. And they also want to organize as professional journalists. It's been a few years there that there's been any formal organization for professional journalists, and they feel that it's critical to form this chapter to build their community, given their modest numbers. They hope to build lasting relationships that will not only improve morale in the local industry, but also hopefully improve retention in the profession. So those are some of the big picture goals that they're seeking with this new chapter. Does anybody have any questions?
Kevin, go ahead. You're on mute, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
You're still on mute, Kevin. Caroline,
Sorry,
can you maybe? There we go. There you go.
My cursor disappeared off the screen, and I couldn't corral it. So Caroline, I don't want to be the one who rains on this parade a little bit. I think this is a great opportunity. I just have a couple of questions and just one slight concern that I think that we can accommodate, but I do think it's a bigger concern in the grand picture. So my first question is, the articles that are in front of us, did we create those or did they create those?
They created those.
They created those. Okay. So I have a slight editing recommendation that I think that we seriously need to make. In section 4, it talks about what their responsibilities are. And it says in the very last sentence that they will abide by SPJ's code of ethics without unpeeling an onion that goes back 30 years. One of the things this organization, by the way, to abide by something means they have to comply or obey that code of ethics. And one of the things that this organization has consistently emphasized over the past 30 years is our code is an aspirational code, and it is not one where you are required to abide by it. We hope that you believe in the principles here and that you follow those. But we have, with the ethics committee, we have gingerly walked, and there has been in the past opportunities where people have wanted to create enforcement measures into this, where if you don't abide by the code, you can be, kicked out of the organization. So I would simply suggest that they say that they acknowledge SPJ's code of ethics or the value of the SPJ's code, and not use a word that requires them to abide or conform or obey that code. If you want more opinion about that, I would refer it to Fred and Chris on the ethics committee. But I just think that telling them that they have to abide by this code flies in the face of our philosophical approach to our own code for the past 30, 40 years. So
might I suggest replacing the word abide with uphold? So that's an easy fix. They don't have to change the whole sentence.
Yeah, I think that just need to slide that word out
Yeah.
and put something more appropriate in there. So that would
Yeah,
be my
no, I
suggestion.
agree. I 100% agree. Any other questions that from the board? Okay, might I get a motion to approve the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands as a new chapter to SPJ?
I will make that motion since I've held this up.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Chris seconds. Okay, all those in any discussion, any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor, why don't we do a voice vote, see where we are? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. I just want to say this. One, welcome the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands to the SPJ family. And also, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Regional 11 Coordinator Ankita Kumar, who really was very instrumental in helping this chapter organize and get together in her travel to the Regional 11 conference. I believe a year ago. That's when she met some of these journalists and really encouraged them to start to pull together and create a chapter for themselves. And so I think without her hard work and help and advocacy for them, I don't know that we would be here voting for this brand new chapter. So I just really want to thank her for all of her hard work. She's really been an exemplary regional coordinator since she came on board. So thank you so much, Ankita. Okay, moving on to the public comment period. Just as a reminder, you will have 2 minutes to have a public comment, and I guess I will be the one to record the time. Okay, public comment, hands. Oh my, really? Well, I feel like that is a first, isn't it? I will take it. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, gone. All right. Let's move on then to old or new business. Any board members have any old or new business that we need to discuss?
I don't know if it's business. I just wanted to say a welcome to Michelle Watson, the new interim Region 1 coordinator. Excited to have her on board. Hopefully she can run for the position and not just be an interim, and we'll get to that. We'll prove why we need her and her leadership over the next few months, I'm sure. But yeah, I just wanted to say hi to her, and she's on this call listening, and we're excited to work with her in the region.
Michelle, thank you so much for stepping in. We did have a regional coordinator that had to step down for personal reasons, so we appreciate you being willing to step up and step in. And also thank you, Chris, very much for identifying Michelle as someone who would be willing to step up and step in. And I echo your words of encouragement for her to run for the actual position of Region 1 coordinator. Hint, hint, Michelle.
Okay. We'll see.
Okay. All right. But thank you so much. We really do appreciate you and your service to SPJ.
Not a problem.
Okay. Let's now So I want to say a couple of things before I actually entertain this motion to go into executive session. We will be entering executive session to deliberate on a couple of different awards, the Howard Dubin Award, the Fellows of the Society, as well as Historic Site and Journalism. Just to be completely transparent, this year I decided that it made sense for us to create rubrics to be able to score every single one of the nominees in each of these categories. So one, it would make the process of deliberating more efficient, but two, we have a process that is transparent. And if anyone questions the folks that we have chosen, they can go back to the rubric and see how we made these decisions, right? So I am a very huge proponent in dealing in numbers and facts. And so I think this helps to legitimize the process going forward. And, I'm hoping maybe this is a template that can be used going forward for these deliberations so that it is modeled after something that is based on the requirements of each of these awards, and that the decisions are not made in a very subjective manner. It is more based on how is this nominee adhering to the requirements that have been laid out in the awards descriptions themselves. So I just wanted to make sure that that was completely transparent before we do go into executive session so that everybody's on the same page about how we end up coming to the decisions that we make. So that being said, I would like to, oh, yes, go ahead, Emily.
One thing really quick, I just want to point out for our general membership that this is the last item on the agenda. So even though practically we will come back from executive session and adjourn the meeting, if anything goes awry with tech or you don't get a notification, there's nothing else happening, just for transparency's sake. Because I know sometimes when we bounce back, that can be a point of confusion.
Yes, thank you so much for that clarification. I think that's very helpful. Okay, I would like to entertain a motion to enter executive session. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Oh, either one.
Okay, let's go with Emily with a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of entering executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all so much for joining us. And if you happen to join us back after the executive session, we will see you then. Okay, and let's stop recording. Okay, we are now back in public session for the SPJ board meeting. We have made our selections for the awards of Howard Dubin, Fellows of Society, Historical Sites in Journalism, and we will make those announcements soon. So please stay tuned for that. Can I get well, do we need to notify folks that we've come back into public session before we adjourn? I want to make sure that we do that so that there are no
Was anyone hanging out in the living room, or did they all exit off completely?
I think they all exited out completely.
Okay. We need to look into tech and see if there's like an easy way in the future to just like send like a notification. But
Agreed. Agreed.
because we're not doing anything, I'm not as pressed about it.
Yeah, I know. Usually what would happen in the past is an email would go out to the general membership and just notifying them that the public session was back in session. So let's kind of talk more about that offline, of better ways for us to be able to notify folks that we're back in public session. But that being said, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, thank you all so much, and we will see you in September for our next board meeting. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.